All right. Boker Tov, Rabotai. Long time no see on this beautiful Sunday morning. We're here on this beautiful day, learning together Parashat Yitro. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam shehakol nihya b'dvaro.
Amen. לנשמת זהותי, פשוט.
לעילוי נשמת.
יצחק בובוב בן ביתי.
יצחק בובוב בן ביתי. משה חי בן פרחו.
שמעיו בן עדינה.
שמעיו בן עדינו.
זול.
נוריאל בן מלכו. עמנואל בן מלכו. לתורת רוח השם נרחם וגן אמן. וישמע יתרו כהן מדיין חותן משה את כל אשר עשה אלוהים למשה ולישראל עמו כי הוציא אדוני את ישראל ממצרים. Yitro heard. What did he hear? Yitro heard, right? He was, first of all, the Torah gives us an introduction of who he was. He was the priest of Midian. He was the father-in-law of Moshe. He heard everything that God Almighty did for the Jewish people when they left Egypt. What did he hear? Mashmua Shama. Our rabbis explained he heard two things. Number one, the war with Amalek. Number two, the splitting of the sea. Two things he heard. And all of a sudden, Yitro gets up and he decides, I want to become Jewish. He wants to come into the Jewish faith. He wants to come and join Am Yisrael in the Midbar. The question is, where is everyone else? Why only Yitro is the one who comes and no one else came? When no one else heard the news? Boker Tov. Did no one else hear the news? Everyone else heard the news. So where is everyone? Who has a good answer? So our rabbis explain that a person in life gets inspired sometimes. And if you don't act on this inspiration, then that's all it's going to be. It's going to be inspiration. How many times do we have it? You hear a good Devar Torah, you hear a good Shiur, you feel so good, you're like, you know what, I'm going to make a change. He's right. You want to make a change, you get inspired, but you don't make change. You say, Pageh ole, Pageh. Yeah? Then again you say, Pageh, and nothing changes. If nothing changed that moment, Klum, nothing will happen. And you know, there was a rabbi, his name was Rabbi Yerucham Levavitz. And he writes a fascinating point. I might have said this at a different venue, but it bears repeating. Rabbi Yerucham Levavitz writes, he says, David HaMelech married a girl. Whose daughter was she? She was the daughter of Shaul HaMelech. Shaul was the king. He marries the king's daughter. Imagine, такое честь to marry the king's daughter. Дали ему дочь царя. Почему? Потому что он победил злодея. He went to war against the man, his name was Goliath. He wasn't afraid of him, David. He saw Goliath, he came with his stick. Goliath threatened him. David threatened Goliath. Goliath runs toward David. David runs towards Goliath. He's not afraid of him. Karochi. He knows he has God on his team. He feels the Shekhinah rest on him. He says, I'm going with the power of God Almighty. And Nibayus nikakova Goliath, nikakova giganta. Oni mo победил. Guess what? The king now promised his daughter. What was her name? Michal. Michal was the wife of King David. She marries him. They lived very well. Everything was good. Eventually, Shaul HaMelech feels threatened by David. He starts to chase David. David runs away. David will be guide. I need to slow down. David runs away. As David HaMelech runs away, Shaul, as the king says, I undo your wedding to his daughter. I'm going to give you a new husband. What is his name? His name is none other than Palti ben Laish. Palti ben Laish, he was a big tzaddik, by the way. Our rabbis teach us that he came to home one day, the first day of marriage, on Zel Sablu, Mr. Arkadi. Pastavil Karavayts in the middle of the bed, on Skazal, I'm not going to go to your side, you're not going to come on my side. This is the Sabla, Nigmar. Why does he need a Sabla? Кому нужна эта Sabla? Он может ее убрать и все. Правильно? What does he need it? Rabbi Yerucham Levavitz explains, on Gavarit, when you get inspired, you have to do something. Мы должны сделать какой-то change. Если мы не делаем никакой change, у нас просто хорошее чувство, вау, inspiring, хазак барух, но мы не изменились никак, с этого inspiration ничего не выйдет. There will be no change eventually. When you get inspired, you have to act now. Now. One day you wake up in the morning, it's 8:15. You say, you know, I want to go to shul. Я хочу идти в синагогу. Если вы в тот день не пойдете в синагогу, завтра уже вы не захотите, уже не сможете вы сделать. Но что если она говорит, уже хотя опоздал, уже 8:15. Лучше завтра пойдешь, завтра вовремя пойдешь, завтра, лучше завтра. Больше Ецерара завтра, but you know something? Tomorrow never comes, it's always tomorrow. Один написал на своей крыше, tomorrow be a good person. He wakes up tomorrow, he looks at the roof, and what does he see at the ceiling? Tomorrow. So the point is that tomorrow is never today, and we have to make change today. When you're inspired, You have to make sure that that change happens today. You know what's different with Yitro and everyone else? Yeah, Mr. David, we missed you. You know what's different between Yitro and everyone else? Yitro heard about Amalek. Yitro heard about splitting of the sea. And Yitro says, wow. Badavar asher zadus madrigak bok ichna kazal. Measure for measure. How he punished the Egyptians. Unbelievable. There is a justice in the world. Yitro was so inspired. He didn't say, okay, Padashdom until the summer. Padashdom until it's a beautiful, until I want to go on vacation to the desert. Yitro srazu stal, and he said, I'm going. Kudaidosh. Where are you going? I have to go look for the truth. What are you, crazy? You have a business. You have a family. So yes, kudate bijish. I need to go and find the truth. That's what Yitro wanted. He acted right away. Says Rabbi Rucham Levavitz, when you're inspired, you hear a good shiur, that moment make a change. That moment do something. If you don't do it that moment, nigmar. Человек ходит, и он услышал лекцию about how important it is to learn 2 halachot every day. Yeah? He wants olam haba. Но что он говорит? I'm going to start next Sunday. What does that mean, I'm going to start next Sunday? I don't understand. You have to start right away. You have to make change right away. If you don't make change right away...
But the good thoughts also count, Rabbi.
The good thoughts do count, you're right. But we don't want they should remain thoughts. Many times in life we're cheated by the Yetzer Hara. How many times did we want to do something? We said tomorrow, and tomorrow never happened. How many times? Ole page never comes. So we have to remember that right away we have to act. So that is a beautiful lesson. Everyone has moments of inspiration. The difference between a great person and an ordinary person is that a great person acts upon his inspiration. Человек хороший, он меняется, он не ждет до завтра, послезавтра и так далее. He takes the inspiration and he makes change. And you have to know, Rabotai, that 1 minute is a big deal. 1 minute is a big deal. 1 minute is a big deal. You're going to say, what's the big deal, 1 minute? Yeah?
You can get a lot of stuff.
You can get a lot of stuff, he says, but in 1 minute you can accomplish the whole world. There were people who got their olam haba in 1 minute. Such a tremendous thing. There was a rabbi. His name was a Granat. The Granat, not Granat, Hasvi Shalom, that we know. Gaon, Rabbi. What was his name? Naftali Trop, if I'm not mistaken. Hagan of Naftali Trop. The Granat, Evos Valley. And he, in his 40s, on Bil Prismirti, on Ochin Balil, Ishto Stala, the people of the yeshiva, and he's delali tzedakah collection. But this was not an ordinary tzedakah collection. Что они сделали? Они собирали не деньги, они собирали время. Они говорили, кто хочет отдать время Рабаю, the Gaon, Rabbi Naftali, чтобы он продолжал и учил нас. Один студент встает, говорит, I give 1 week. Второй студент говорит, I give 1 month. Третий студент тоже говорит, I give 1 month, I give a week, I give a day, I give whatever it is.
Why not a year?
A year is a long time. Один говорит, I'll give 6 months to the rabbi. Wow, what a tzaddik. В конце они сделали Миша Берах, они сказали худован, except our plea. Они собрали 9 years plus, more than 9 years of time. Собрали. Они сделали Миша Берах, и вдруг один встает, габай, говорит, 1 second. There is the elder of our community who we didn't ask. Who was the elder in their community? He was none other than the Chafetz Chaim. Chafetz Chaim был великий, большой рабай, великий мудрец. И что, они сказали, ему уже больше 80 лет. Идем спросим, может он тоже хочет отдать. They came to the rabbi, and they said to the rabbi, Kavod Arav, эхе гаон заболел наш рабай. Вы хотите, мы все время дали, вы хотите дать время? И рабай начал, he started to whisper something, он начал думать. Он говорит, okay, you know what, вы правы. We should give tzedakah. You're right. Okay, Rabbi, how much you want to give? He says, I give 1 minute. Они на него посмотрели. They said, Rabbi, you're making fun, you're making a joke, I don't understand. Он говорит, no, I'm very serious. Do you understand what you can accomplish in 1 minute? Do you understand how you can change as a person in 1 minute? You get inspired. If you make change, it changes your whole life. 1 minute makes a big deal, says the rabbi. Человек, который не тратит время, 1 minute is so precious to him. But a person who doesn't understand the value of time, every 5 minutes on the telephone, the new generation, every 5 minutes. Вы знаете, сегодня есть аппликация, которая говорит, сколько мы являемся на телефоне каждый день. Любого мальчика спросите, сколько он является на свой iPhone. Минимум. 2 часа это мы. I'm kidding. How many hours? No? 5? 4?
5 hours at least.
At least 5 hours a day. In a week, that's 35 hours. In a year, that's more than 1,500 hours. Close to 2,000 hours. This is months of time. Misitza, it's like 2 months out of the year. Yes, out of 70 years, how much time do you give up? Maybe 12 years you give away to yourself. Unbelievable. 12 years of time. Imagine Shalavek Balnoi. Yes, and the doctor says, I will give you 12 years of life. Wow. He would give everything for 12 years of life. He would give $100 million away for 12 years of life. I would give it, Bili Neder, no? To live another 12 years, you wouldn't give away?
I like that.
You don't want to be tested. You wouldn't give it away, Mr. David? For 12 years of time, anybody would give it away. You know what 12 years is? It's a long time. And yet, sometimes we don't value, we don't appreciate Minyasas Nayom, how valuable our time is. And the Chafetz Chaim says 1 minute is so valuable. One minute is so precious. In 1 minute, I can say 100 words of Torah. In 1 minute, I can put on tefillin and say Shema Yisrael. In 1 minute, I can save somebody's life. Somebody's drowning. How long does it take to jump in the pool and pick him up? In 1 minute, you can do a lot in a minute. A minute is a grand amount of time. You know what we learned from Yitro? That in 1 minute, you can make a difference in your whole life. Yitro made a change, and he got a parasha in the Torah. Nazvali parasha Yitro. I don't have a parasha named after me. I like it. The point is we don't have, but Yitro has. Why? Because not only on Uslishol Shtota Takoya Krasiva, he got up and says, I'm gonna make a difference. I'm gonna make a change. I'm gonna act on the inspiration. I'm not just gonna be, wow, beautiful, очень красиво, and продолжать дальше. I'm gonna make a change. Okay, now what?
Now is the time.
Now is the time. It's not tomorrow. And this is a lesson we learn from the Chafetz Chaim, that 1 minute is so precious, my daragid Rusya. We don't understand what we can do in a minute. We don't understand what you can do in 10 minutes, in an hour. It's so much time. I'm saying this to myself. Later on when I want to play on my phone, I have to remind myself, 1 second, this minute is very precious. Do you really need to know what's on the news? Этот выиграл, тот выиграл. Этот говорит, что this one's a cheater. That one говорит, что this one... Какая разница? Chazak Baruch. That's it, Nigmar. People are spending months and months talking about an election that they have no control over. I like what you... It's saying good. This is Argazi. Bullshit. So the point is that in life we have to remember to act on inspiration, to make change when it's necessary, and not chas v'shalom, just to let the time go. How do you say? Just to let the time go. So continues the Torah. Yitro now gets up and he's giving advice. Who's he giving advice to? His son-in-law. Now I don't know. It's not recommended to give advice to your son-in-law, especially not in today's day. Today, every 18-year-old boy has a gordes from here to the heaven. Ему попробуйте что-то сказать. Он лучше всех знает. Да, этот мальчишка. Тоже так же, when the mother-in-law gives advice to her kelin. Oh, Baruch Hashem. So the point is this is a recipe for disaster. Kelin John, нужно так делать, нужно так делать, нужно так делать. Мильхемет олам. Третья мировая война. Что стало? Ничего. Беседы. Мы советы должны знать, когда дать, а когда лучше не дать. Иногда вот эти советы, мы хотим помочь кому-то, но если гордость человека слишком большая, во-первых, он не слышит нас. Во-вторых, это только является, it's going to only make problems. Yitro gets up, he comes to Moshe, he says, what are you doing? Moshe says, what am I doing? I am judging the people. С утра до вечера they come and I judge them, I tell them, you're right. All day, this is what I do. This is what Moshe does. Yitro says, what are you doing? Na bol tibol, you're going to wither. What are you doing? He says, right away, get other people, delegate the work. And Moshe says, you know something? It's a good idea. Let me ask God. He picks up the phone, 1-800 God Almighty. He says, how are you? Good, Baruch Hashem. Well, God doesn't say Baruch Hashem, but how's everything in heaven? Excellent. When you have a person like Moshe, everything is good in heaven. So Shtos Nayot, he says, what do you say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And God says, you know what? He's right, your father-in-law. And Moshe was a mujit. He said, you know what? If he's right, we're going to do it. He didn't say, I didn't think of this idea. Я хочу, чтобы это моя идея была. Гордость его не помешала. Even though the совет came from somewhere else, Moshe said, if this is the right thing to do, this is what I'm going to do. And we learned a lesson in leadership. When you want to run something functional, don't do everything yourself. Delegate. Give also. Give over to others. Let them grow also. Whatever they can handle, we have to learn to delegate. Especially in our houses. You have a child, he's 5 years old. You have a child, he's 9 years old. Delegate work to them. Not because I need you to do it, I can do it myself. I go to the supermarket, I don't know what. I can carry all the mishki myself. Nonetheless, you have to learn to delegate. Because a person, first of all, is going to help you. Second of all, a person elevates when there's a delegation that is made in his direction. So Moshe didn't let his gordas get in the way. And Moshe Skazal, you know what? You're right, Yitro. Right away on Zal, Ludze, on Iskal, Kachis to Ludzi. People who, first of all, they're not swayed with dollar bills. Very hard to find. Today we have a lot of people like this. But the point is, people who are not swayed with a few Benjamins. Yes, people who are Anshe Shem, people of stature, etc. They're not going to sway for a few dollars. Talmidei Chachamim, the first criteria of becoming a judge, yes, is to know the Torah. So he needs people on stature. He needs people of, how do you say, no, of honesty, of integrity. Itakich Ludei Moshe Rabbeinu, Zdelo, the judges. And the point is that Yitro was the one who gave this advice, and Moshe accepted it. Why? Because Moshe was not about his kavod. He was not about my honor, my glory, me. He's about what can I do to help the people. And Yehi Ratzon, we come to this cognition and recognition that we look for the truth in life, that we act on inspiration, just like Yitro. And because of Yitro, we have an extra parasha in the Torah. It's unbelievable. Why? Because Yitro was a man who looked for the truth. Yehi Ratzon that we should all be able to find the truth in our lives. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen. Amen.